Reposted with mod approval. Original post. old.reddit.com web link. TL, Doctor, things turned out well for everyone involved. Peggy reached out to me yesterday, apologized, and asked if we could meet for lunch. We met up, and the first thing she did was apologize again. For the no call, no show, and also for her reaction to my response. She admitted that she knows I'm not sexist, or ableist, IDK if I spelled that right, there's a red line under it, and explained that she was lashing out due to her mental state. I accepted her apology, and offered one of my own. Both for giving her too much responsibility too quickly, and also for reacting out of emotion. She explained to me that she had a major issue on Monday, and without getting into too much detail, I'll just say that it was the anniversary of a bad thing. She's taking all of her accumulated PTO, till to 9 weeks, and we've agreed that going forward, I'm not going to put her on the schedule on that day ever again. She's admitted that she's not up to the role of manager. When she returns, she will be in the role of lead cashier, a role I created specifically for her. This way she can keep her raise, and not feel like she got a demotion, but rather a lateral transfer. I've also let her know that if she ever feels like she's up to more responsibility, she can let me know, and I'll put her right back on track for the manager spot. I've also let her know that if she's ever in a position where she's not able to call out, she can simply text me a thumbs down emoji, and I will accept that as notice that she will be missing her next shift. She's agreed that that will be okay, even when she's out of spoons. I appreciate all of the 6,000 comments my post got, even the ones calling me TA. Thank you all very much. I want to specifically address the folks who explained spoon theory to me, as well as those who commented about Peter Principle. Those two types of comments very heavily influenced my actions. I was able to better understand both her issue, and my own failures as a leader because of those comments. Hopefully we can both move forward from this unfortunate incident and end up better for it. My husband and I took a much-needed vacation to the beach last week, and the entire week before we left I sent emails on letting everyone know I'd be completely inaccessible for the week, so to come and see me for any work materials needed, files etc. I gave everyone everything I knew or thought they'd need and left confident that everyone had prepared themselves, seeing as I'd given them 8 days to prepare. When I returned I found chaos in the office. Apparently one of my colleagues had needed files for a particularly important client of ours and had not been able to find them in my office, and I never responded to calls or emails, as I warned I wouldn't do. This coworker knew they'd be handling this client and had 8 days and 12 hours a day to ask me for all pertinent files and appears to have not. In any case, I was blamed because the client is technically mine and I am supervisor of this coworker. I contend that I am blameless because this coworker had 8 days to collect all their files like their other coworkers did, and they neglected to do so. No one seems to care about that. Ada here? My 36 sister N, 29, got pregnant at 18. I am infertile and knew I couldn't have kids, so when Aunt said she was giving her baby for adoption, I decided to be her mom. And went no contact 5 months after giving birth. For a bit of background, Anne got pregnant by a one-night stand, and she apparently didn't remember or know the father at the time of birth, but when V was 2, a man T, 35, messaged me on social media claiming to be the father of my child. Anne had run into him at a club and drunkenly confessed to the pregnancy. We met up, he bonded with his daughter, and well, that man is now my husband of 7 years. Coming back to my sister, she called me yesterday. Although I was surprised at her call, I picked up. We made some small talk, then she said she had just gotten married a year back and both of them wanted children but couldn't because her husband was infertile but really wanted kids. I asked her if she wanted to adopt and she said she would just need to get her baby back. I was speechless for a few moments before replying that if she wants to meet my child as an aunt she is welcome to, and we both can sit V down and explain the reason for her absence, but she can't just ask me to give up my child. She said she'll sue me as she's the birth mother. I told her she was out of her mind and I told her about T. She exploded, calling me names and saying I stole her life. I got too emotional and hung up. T came home from work and on explaining to him, he was beyond furious. I then got a call from my parents saying I was an asshole for telling Anne she couldn't see her baby. I said I never said that and I welcomed her to bond with V, but they refused to listen and said I was being insensitive and harsh and flaunting my family. I now feel bad because me and N were very close as sisters and I feel quite close to her situation since I know the struggles of infertility. T said there was no way he was letting my sister have full time and I agree, but I want to know if I'm the asshole for being too harsh and telling her about T. Edit, I did legally adopt V at birth. T adopted her too after we got married. N never wanted kids and I feel the only reason she wants V now is because her husband wants kids. I don't know, but I think this is it and T agrees. Edit 2, for all the people wondering why I said we were close, I meant growing up. I got pregnant with my daughter Emma at 18. I lived at home and was going to college and working. When I got pregnant my parents kicked me out and I had to move in with my ex. I dropped out of school and quit my job to take care of Emma because my ex told me he would support me. When I was 22, he was 24, he graduated law school. He told me I had to move out because he wanted to find a wife. My parents had forgiven me so I moved in with them. We didn't have a court order but we split custody pretty much 25-75 with me having more time. When Emma was 6 he married his now wife. She couldn't have any more kids and wanted Emma and her daughter to be sisters. Over the next 3 years Emma spent less and less time with me. She'd throw a fit if I tried to pick her up. They gave her things I couldn't. When she was 8 she told me she hated me. I never blamed her for the lies her father put in her head, because even though I lived at home, I was in college and working and did my best to provide her for her, but obviously they could do more. They took me to court when she was 10 in surprise. The lawyer and his doctor wife with their $1 million home beat me in court. They painted me out to be this horrible parent and Emma backed them up. They got primary custody and I got visitation. But Emma refused to see me. I gave her money and gifts. But she didn't want me in her life. When I was 30 I met my husband. He is the most amazing man I have ever met. He's seen me struggle with this and been very supportive. He has a daughter Emma's age and a son who is 5 years younger. They lost their mom and were very welcoming and loving. They treated me like their mom. Emma made zero efforts to get to know my husband and stepkids. Emma and stepdaughter just graduated high school this past May, and my parents also recently passed and gave me their estate since I am an only child. I have decided to pay for my stepdaughter's entire college tuition and buy her a car, pay for an apartment. Emma contacted me a week ago and told me she missed me and wanted to see me. This shocked me seeing as we haven't talked in a year. We met up and she told me she heard my parents died and asked if she could have some money to pay for college. I was shocked and said, well, what about your dad and his wife? She said my mom and dad want me to pay for this on my own to teach me responsibility and I believe I am entitled to money seeing as you ruined my life. I was very hurt and told her after years of ignoring me, and telling me I am not your mother, you demand money from me, I am not your wallet. My husband is telling me what I did was right but my ex is telling me I'm a piece of shit and I owe this to her. My stepdaughter feels bad and offered her college money because my daughter and her friends have been harassing her. I said absolutely not, that is your money. Ada for not giving my daughter money after ignoring me her whole life. I'm 28F and I work as a chef in a local Italian restaurant. We are extensively trained in matters like cross-contamination and we are very careful with customers who say they have food allergies. That is, we have a section of the kitchen specifically for preparing dishes for customers that can't have nuts/dairy/shellfish or other common allergies. We serve some dishes with pesto in them, which typically contains both pine nuts and Parmesan cheese. But pesto is fairly quick to make: basil, olive oil, garlic, pine nuts, Parmesan, bit of lemon juice, blend, done. And we've made nut-free and dairy-free pesto in the past for customers who have requested it. We don't mind doing so if customers just ask for it. Last night a server puts in an order for a chicken pesto over pasta dish and informs the chefs that a person at the table has a nut allergy. Okay, no problem. I begin making pesto without nuts in our allergy-free section of the kitchen. Dish is ready, gets served, comes back. Server tells us that the man who ordered it said the pesto tasted odd to him. I explained to her that I made the nut-free pesto since we were informed that someone at the table had a nut allergy. She goes back out, explains this to him, and comes back, saying that he asked for the manager. Manager and man come to the window, And the man says my wife has the nut allergy, not me. I wanted regular pesto. We were informed that someone at the table had a nut allergy. We didn't know who, so we prepared it in our nut-free zone. I reply. You shouldn't just assume that it was the person ordering. You don't modify things unless you're asked to. The man says. I mean, was it a dumb assumption of me? Everyone else in the kitchen assumed the same thing I did, and we were playing on the side of safety. Were we assholes to assume? We did remake the dish, and the server got badly tipped for something that wasn't her fault. I go hunting every year. I'm not a trophy hunter by any means. I do it for meat and almost purely for economic reasons at this point. Taking a few of deer off my property once a year keeps my freezer stocked and the grocery bill way down, which is important because finances can be tight sometimes. As a little relevant background, the bulk of the meat is kept in a large freezer in the garage, and about once a week we pull out what we will need for the next week or so. Which means the freezer is normally only opened about once a week. My son, 15, has decided that he is vegetarian about 6 months ago, which my wife and I have no problems with. We started making meatless meals twice a week and made sure every other dinner was such that the meat was separate from everything else so he could still eat with us. This has been working great for the last 6 months with no complaints. However, last week when I pulled the meat for the week out of our freezer in the garage, he decided to come behind me and unplug the freezer. I guess he thought we weren't doing enough to support his cause. He never spoke to us or complained about our twice-a-week setup prior to unplugging the freezer. Well, as you can imagine, with a now unrefrigerated pile of meat in the summer heat, it didn't take long for the meat to start to rot and stink. The freezer kept the smell in for a while, so by the time we finally noticed, everything was completely putrid. I asked my son if he knew what happened, and he proudly said that he had unplugged it on purpose and now we would have to be meat-free. I told him that he didn't have the right to ruin a freezer full of meat and raise the family's grocery bill without discussing it with anyone. I told him that as part of his punishment he had to clean up his mess. Meaning dispose of all of the rotting meat and either sufficiently clean and sanitize the freezer or purchase a new one out of his savings. He called me the offer making him interact with meat in any form. But he made the mess, he needs to clean it up. Ada?